What is up, everybody? Welcome and thank you for joining us for what is the triple header here that we have. We are extremely excited that we are on week 3 of racing. We have a full show today. We are going to recap the Mexican Grand Prix. We're going to go over our picks. We are going to talk about the Brazilian Grand Prix coming up. Go over the gambling odds, which have changed the spread's getting tighter. Let's just put it that way. Man, there's a lot to talk about this week. Mexican Checo Perez was obviously the talk going into it. Rough weekend from him, which we'll get into. But Alex, what do you think of the race weekend overall?
I think it's solid. I agree with your statement. Not the most exciting, not the worst either.
Yeah, that race kind of is weird because it felt like a little flat, but also a little bit exciting. Like I didn't know. Some points I was like, oh my god, like there ain't nothing going on, and then something would go on for a lap or two, and then it'd be quiet. Yeah, I don't
I
know.
was,
That's what I
yeah.
thought.
My biggest concern was the overtaking because obviously the straight line speed of like the Red Bull's insane, and they got that long straight into P1. Or
Yep.
sorry, yeah. But so obviously that's a big DRS zone, and then but there was some decent racing on track, and
Yeah.
qualifying made sure of that to happen.
Yeah, and because of the air in Mexico City, it's a very unique circuit. They run high downforce cars like they would at Monaco, but they have levels of grip compared to Monza, which is where they're running their least amount of downforce package on there. And it's just the way that the air has it. It's also where the fastest F1 speed has been recorded by
Mm,
Valtteri Bottas.
Three,
So,
I think it was 350 or something like that.
yeah,
Sorry, it was like 220 miles per hour for
yeah,
the
yeah,
Americans
yeah.
watching.
Yeah. That's exactly right. So, very interesting circuit. It has a old school. Ooh, I would call it like a. I think accurately like a old school Spain final turn, final two turns. Um, I heard Esteban Ocon saying post race if that was a little bit different, you might have some better overtaking down the straight. But because of that stadium section that they have there, it's hard to follow. And then if you have a car that's a little bit faster in a straight line, like the Haas was this week, someone like Esteban struggled. So I think the track layout's okay. I advise anyone who doesn't watch on board, as I'm always telling people to get on board one of these cars. But there's a lot of they go. I don't want to say they go slow. There's a lot of lifting, more than you would expect, through a lot of the parts of the track with the downforce levels and trying to save tires. It sounded weird. It
Yeah,
sounded like they were out of the gas a lot.
yeah, it did. When you're watching even when you're just watching the mainstream, it shows you like how much gas they're giving and how much they're not, and you can definitely see what you're talking about. It's definitely true.
Yeah, and this weekend was a race. What probably like Singapore, like I don't know what else I have off the top of my head, where they maybe weren't going fast, trying to pump in the best laps. They were just trying to save those tires, um, kind of the best they could. They didn't know that red flag was coming out, so um, yeah, that was that. But there was a lot of rumors Sergio Perez was going to retire after this weekend. Obviously, none of that had to come out. So we're going to talk about more rumors later today, but obviously rumors are just rumors and they don't always come true. But they are fun for us to talk about. Me or Alex didn't watch too much qualifying. I had some of it on. I don't think there was any big news there. They were testing out a new tire for Pirelli. That was going on a little bit. I will say it was another weekend, and we'll get into qualifying in half a second, where Alex Albon was again putting his car in the top 3 in practice, making at least myself and Alex as a fan as well. So I'd say him as well, pretty hopeful for Alex maybe qualifying in the top 5, not just making it into Q3, but very hopeful on his qualifying. I think he split the Red Bulls in practice twice, and there's something that didn't come to fruition. So practice pretty quiet. So we'll jump right into qualifying here, as we have Logan Sargent 20th, Lando Norris 19th, Lance Stroll 18th, K Mag 17th, and Esteban Ocon 16th. The big shocker, me and Alex briefly were talking about it beforehand because it was so crazy. Lando Norris in 19th place. Um, it was weird. The McLarens and the Mercedes went out for qualifying on the medium tires for a run. and they pulled Lando in before he finished his medium tire run. He had one shot essentially on the soft tire, overdrove it a little bit. Fernando Alonso had an accident, which kind of put the kibosh on any more laps for him. 19th place, man. What was your thoughts when you saw that went down? That was pretty crazy.
So I didn't watch it live. I went back and I saw the results, and I went back and watched it. Yeah, it was pretty nuts. I was especially the gap. I think it was like a two 2.3, 2.4 second gap or whatever between
Yep.
Lando and first place, which obviously like that McLaren has a lot more speed than that. I think most F1 cars have a lot more speed than that. So yeah, definitely a shocker to see him going on Q3, especially with the impressive showing he's had the second half of the season.
Yeah, I mean, that car has just been on fire lately. And 19th, when you were, last week, I think we saw the writing on the wall. It'd be tough for them to catch Ferrari. And if there was any shot, starting in 19th is not going to be helpful. He actually started a little bit further up. We'll talk about that because of penalties and stuff. Lance Stroll in 18th, man, this is just what we're accustomed to at this point, no?
I mean, the Aston Martin did not look strong at all this weekend, to be fair. But yeah, you just got to expect that out of Lance Stroll. He's
Yeah.
just constantly exit out Q1.
Haas in 17th, not a shocker. Esteban Ocon in 16th. I think that was a little bit of a surprise. Usually they have a little bit more pace than that, at least in my opinion.
That Alpine is just strange to me. It seems like they just can't like get anything consistent going with that car. Like it
Yeah.
seems like every now and then they're in the points and they can finish in the top five, or they are somewhere down in Q3 or Q1. Sorry.
Yeah, I think the average fans, like, if you're not really into it, like, these cars, you have to have like a baseline understanding of the car. And a lot of times throughout the year, they develop a base and they understand, okay, at this track we're going to be here, this track we might be here, and we'll adjust from here. But they seem, like Alex says, to be showing up at a track and just not knowing where the car is going to be that weekend, and either qualifying real bad and then maybe pulling it together throughout the weekend, or just having some bad weekends overall.
Are,
So
are they still getting their engine parts from Renault?
yes,
Is
yeah,
there is the suppliers Renault? Okay.
they're the solo Renault team. I do believe, is it this year or a different year? Oh boy, I do believe that they felt like they were so under horsepowered that they asked if they could make engine changes, which you're not allowed to, and they were trying to say that because they were down on X amount of horsepower, that if they could just get it close to their competitors, and that they weren't allowed to. So they are rolling with what they got. Q2 here, we got Yuki in 15th, Albon 14th, Fernando 13th, Hulkenberg 12th, Pierre 11th. So this was kind of interesting here. If you don't remember, Alonso spins out in Q1. Very unlike Fernando Alonso, because I mean he's up there in the higher echelon of guys. That's just not what we expect out of him. But as Alex said, that Aston Martin was a handful all weekend long.
I think
But
he's gonna start. Sorry to interrupt, but I think he's
no,
gonna
you're
start falling into that Charles Leclerc trend where he's gonna try to outdrive the car, and you're gonna see some mistakes that aren't like him.
Yeah. I mean, when you have a car that was running, second, you potentially could have won Monaco. You were nipping on Max's heels to begin the year, and you are where you are now. I wouldn't blame someone for overdriving the car, wanting to get back to where they were. So, but because his spin, he already had a good time in Q1. He made it to Q2, 13th place is where he put it. Yuki Tsunoda didn't get a lap in. He did hit the Williams jack that was in the pit road, which they thought might be some penalties there, but not much came from that. Albon 14th, he actually put it into the top 10, but with a track limit time deleted, went back to his 14th place time, unfortunately. And that's what Alex. That's what I'm talking about. This has not been the first time we're in practice. I know people hold stuff back in practice, but when he's second in practice, third in practice, I kind of like hope for a top 5 for him, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, let's and 5, 6 maybe. And it just seems that he is struggling big time when it comes to qualifying. There was some stuff in there. I don't know if you heard. I think he was saying like this is a totally different car. It's I think it was just moving under braking on him so bad. But man, a disappointing run for him at 14th. Nico doing what Nico does, putting that Haas in 12th in over 1 lap pace. So expectation, and then Pierre in 11th. I guess that's the big thing when Esteban's 16th and Pierre is 11th. Do you feel like there's a one or two number driver in that team, or do you just feel like they're both like they swap every
I
weekend and they're
I
just
think
both?
I think they kind of swap every weekend. I think Renault. I'm sorry. I think Alpine's gonna have to make the decision on who they want to go with forward, and I really don't. I can't differentiate too much skill with these drivers. I feel like they're right neck and neck with each other, and it's funny because they can't stand each other.
Yeah,
Um,
I
but
just,
yeah,
I'm such in agreement with you. They're so neck and neck. Like if you had to differentiate, like I just don't think. Yeah, I just couldn't.
I'm curious. I'm curious to see. I think they do have Esteban as the number one driver only because he's been with the team for so long.
Yeah,
But I'm curious if the car is just leaning towards Esteban's driving style, and if they lean towards Peter's driving style more. I don't pay attention too much to those two. I'm not gonna lie to you to see their driving style. I was really watching Pierre when he was in AlphaTauri a lot because he like before the regulation change, it seemed like he lived in P6
yeah,
that final year. He was
yeah,
driving
yeah.
crazy. But yeah, that team again just doesn't seem to have an idea on where they want to go and what direction they want to take. So, but yeah, I think something big coming out of Q2 though was Yuki's toe for Ricardo to get him into Q3. I think that was a nice show of maturity from his point of view, especially coming from Yuki, who is extremely immature. Let's just be blunt about it. He's always yelling at his engineer, and the fact that he played the team game there for Ricardo was nice of him to see.
Yeah, I believe they knew ahead of time that Yuki was gonna take engine parts. So that is why Yuki, when we go over the starting grid real quick, he started in the back. But Alex is not wrong there. That toe was a big deal. We're gonna talk about where it put Ricardo. Honestly, it was the only bright spot of maturity for Yuki on the weekend. I think after we discussed the race.
Yeah.
But listen, the team game matters, and at a track like that, the toe matters like crazy. So yeah, that's Alex. Great for bringing that up. That's a very good point there. Um, then we get into our top 10 here. Q3, Joe Guanyu 10th, Valtteri Bottas 9th. So the Alfa Romeos put it into Q3. Not bad for them. On qualifying, George Russell 8th, Oscar Piastri 7th, Lewis Hamilton 6th, Sergio Perez 5th, Danny Rick with the great big shocker in 4th, Max Verstappen 3rd, and then Ferraris take 1st and 2nd with Seitz in 2nd, Leclerc 1st. So the Ferrari, like Leclerc said that he didn't think he expected to get 1st, but like I'm also not surprised when a Ferrari qualifies like good. Are you with me on that?
100%. They always have that. I mean, like they have the 1 lap pace most races, even a
Yep.
straight line. When with such a tracks like these, it just seems like come race day, they just fall off the edge of the cliff.
Yeah.
They can't fix that tire degradation problem.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you. But it's just funny when they're like, "Oh my God, we didn't expect this." Like, bro, come on, you guys are Saturday guys right now. That's what you are. I don't really think that's a big shocker. Max in 3rd again. Ferrari's 1-2, Max 3. That's not bad.
I will
Danny
say
Rick.
that part was a shocker. Sorry, the 1-2 I think was a little bit of a shocker,
Okay.
and then Max always just tends to pull some miracle. There you go. Went out for a second.
All right. Yeah. Danny Rick is the big shocker there in 4th place. Man, just such a good run. The memes were going crazy because Danny Rick is 4th, Sergio 5th. Danny Rick out qualifying Sergio Perez in the AlphaTauri is just
That is crazy.
it was
That is crazy.
rough in meme land for sure. Lewis Hamilton 6th. That's just honestly what I expect out of Lewis with that Mercedes on qualifying day. I wasn't worried. Oscar 7th, standard for the McLaren. George 8th, which is a little bit of a shocker. So you said something earlier that you think Alpine is maybe building the car towards Esteban Ocon a little bit. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested here if the upgrades that Mercedes brought are really suiting or more suited to Lewis, because I felt like they were a little bit closer. And I mean, at least the last 2 weeks in Austin, they Lewis looks like he is leaps and bounds faster than George. I don't
Yeah,
and I'm sorry to interrupt before I get your thoughts, but like
no, you're good.
kind of the same thing with McLaren a little bit. Oscar, Oscar didn't run great last weekend. This weekend he didn't seem to have great race pace. I know Qatar he did well, but I mean upgrades came for them in Singapore-ish, and it just looks that like Lando has a better handle on the upgrades that they brought. I don't know what you think on all that.
I think that's also it shows the lack of experience for both drivers, George
Mm,
and Oscar. Like Oscar's
Yep.
learning the ropes. Lando's obviously the number one driver there. They're obviously going to cater towards him. I think with the Lewis thing, it's also I think they probably are catering the car more towards Lewis, but I don't think George has that much of a this not similar driving style. I think George is a little more aggressive.
Yep.
Like we'll talk about that in the race when they mentioned something about that at the end of the race. But I don't. I think they're both like similar drivers to a sense. I think Lewis is just a little more. He's just more of a veteran through and through. He's gonna play a little safer. He knows what he has under him and stuff like that. But I definitely think both upgrades are leaning towards number one drivers in their teams. But I think
Yeah.
Oscar still has potential to usurp Lando eventually. But
Hmm.
right now, Lando's consistent for the last 5 years or however 4 years, whatever long he's been in McLaren, and they're obviously going to cater towards him. But I do think Oscar will get grips under the car sooner than George will.
Yeah, yeah. So me and you are on the same page. It seems like the upgrades are leaning towards one driver, but it sounded
Mm-hmm.
like you and I. I think we both have faith in George and Oscar that they're not going to be like left behind.
No.
But this was
I
really
also,
brought. Well, go ahead.
sorry, I also think that shows just show you how great of a job Lewis has done this year as a whole, because like he is not getting talked about enough how much the point differential is between Lewis and George, and they've had same cars underneath him in the qualifying. I think George has actually outqualified him now officially. I
Yep,
think by one or they're tied. I can't remember, but it's pretty
it's
close
close.
there. And
Yep.
Lewis is just doing great during the races, and he's been consistent year round.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I couldn't agree with you. After Spain or up to Spain, it was a totally different car. He wanted the old car back, and that just really opened
Mm,
my eyes that like sometimes they bring upgrades to a car, but it doesn't suit both
yeah,
drivers. Um,
I'm. Have you
and they're
played the F1 game? Obviously, you have, right?
yeah,
Have you done the creative team thing?
yeah,
It's so crazy to like you add like an upgrade to a car, and all of a sudden the entire balance is off of the car,
yeah,
and
yeah,
like
yeah,
it's just so weird. So you just it's like a lot of people don't realize like it's guesswork when it comes to this stuff. Like yes, there's simulations and stuff, but like simulations last year showed the Mercedes were going to be the fastest car. That never came to fruition, and so until you get it out on the track, you really don't know.
yeah, absolutely.
And
And like
obviously
and
in Red Bull's situation, sorry to keep interrupting, but in Red Bull's situation, when you have Max who's carrying the team by himself, you're going to keep on giving this guy everything he wants and needs to solidify that.
yeah, absolutely. I don't know if a simulation can how much it can accurately go after someone's driving style. Like Max has his
That
own
too.
driving style. So yeah, but that was Saturday. Let's go over the starting grid real quick, just because it differed from qualifying a little bit. 20th was Lance Stroll. He started from the pits. He made some changes to his car. Logan Sargent 19th because I believe he passed Yuki Tsunoda underneath during the yellow flag. Yuki 18th because he brought upgrades to the his motor, and then Lando Norris 17th in the order stayed the same basically above that. Um, all right, let's talk about the race here. Before we go driver through driver, let's kind of talk about. Um,
I think we have to go incidents on this race.
I think
I don't
so
think we.
too.
I don't think you can really go driver to driver in this race.
Yeah, this one's a little tough. Start of the race here. Max gets a great launch. He's on the inside of Charles already. Sergio gets the best. He gets a good launch from fifth.
Insane
I don't
launch.
want
No,
to say it was.
it was the best launch. And if I'm Checo, I'm
I don't
doing
know.
exactly what he did.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the best launch though. That's what I'm
He
gonna.
went
What
from fifth to arguably almost P1 and
I
had.
know, but I want to put that there's a big draft there, so it's not so
That
much
is
about the
true. That is true.
launch.
That is true. That is true.
Like because I don't want to put down like other guys like got off the line real bad. Like Charles and Max, they're sitting ducks out in front. You need to get a good launch off like Sergio did, but then when you get the toe, that's when he took off. So Sergio from fifth, Max is on all the way to the inside of the track. Leclerc is on the outside of him. Sergio gets a great slipstream, puts it on the outside. He wants to lead his home Grand Prix into turn one. I think he knows that if gets in front, that the race is basically over at that point. What did you see happen going into turn one? What are your thoughts in the event?
So obviously, with John left out there, Checo gets put out of the race. Um, Charles ends up getting pinched by Max and Checo. Not an entire racing incident. Um, even Checo acknowledged that, and I felt so bad for Charles at the end of the race. But that was hard to watch. But yeah, I mean, like if I'm Checo, I'm probably gonna do the same thing, like you said. If you're not getting in front of Max in turn one, the race is probably over. But I think I try to play it a little bit safer. Maybe go a little more towards the outside. There's no dirty part of the track yet. I know you're not going to end up in a great position. You're probably going to end up somewhere in front of Lewis, realistically, P3. But you can do something from there and then just play the strategy game. And who knows, Red Bull might have been kind to Checo and actually gave him the strategy over Max because it is his home Grand Prix. But who am I kidding? Helmut Marko hates him. But
Yeah, that would
but
not have
yeah, I
happened.
think I mean you never know what's gonna happen though. But like maybe Checo just gets like some Super Saiyan abilities there, and he just finally is overtake Max on the racing straights. But yeah, it sucked. It sucked to see him go out his home Grand Prix in lap one in turn one, and it was brutal for the. It was brutal. It was definitely brutal for him.
I don't know how many more episodes in, but the fact that that was the first Dragon Ball Z reference I think from Alex says a lot because I know he's a fan. Shout out Super Saiyan. Yeah, I mean after the basically Perez pinched Leclerc as Alex said. Perez admitted it was kind of his fault, racing incident. He was trying to go for the lead. I think after the race in the cool down room with Max, Lewis, and Charles, they showed a replay. Lewis said, "Oh, he did me at Qatar," which Lewis has already admitted that he kind of pinched and didn't give enough room. So the general consensus was that Perez pinched it. Luckily for Leclerc, he just had a little bit of front wing damage that didn't alter his day too much. But the home crowd was pretty upset. I have seen videos of fans fighting in the bleachers. It was
I did not see that. That's
it was
crazy.
it was a fan punching a Ferrari fan. There was some speculation that this had to do with the incident. The guy wasn't wearing a Red Bull shirt to make it to give more juice on it, but it was a guy attacking
No, but
a
there
Ferrari
was
fan.
as a
But
racer yourself, are you shooting that gap?
what that Perez did?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's about the gap. He just turned in too much. That's
No, no,
all.
I know. But do you
Yeah.
think you're playing it a little more safe, or are you just gunning it?
No, no, I don't know if he knew that they were both inside. Like,
He had to know. I'm sorry. Like, there's like, it's. Don't get me wrong. I get it. Like, there's a lot of blind spots and stuff on cars and stuff. But you see where Charles is on track. Like, he clearly saw where Charles was. He had to know Max was the one more inside.
yeah, I don't know. I just think that's
And
like
on
a
top of
that's.
that, to be fair, something we also didn't mention is Charles did late break there because he was not trying to lose position.
Oh yeah,
But
no. Oh, that's a very good point. Yeah, in the replay, Charles does come from like Max's like left rear with his right front to like. Yeah, he drove it in a little deep. I just think I think it's a misjudgment. I don't think it's like a play it safe thing. I think you just misjudged the corner. Um,
mm,
yeah, I don't know. That's that's just what I think that is. I think there's some other incidents that I'll probably give my opinion on, but that was a misjudgment. Just like Lewis did at Qatar. That's a misjudgment. Um,
gotcha.
yeah. But yeah. So we leave turn one. Max going from third to first, which is something that he has done at Mexico at that Grand Prix before in the past, so he's familiar. Charles comes out second with wing damage. Carlos in third. Danny Rick comes out in fourth. Elbow to elbow through the first couple turns with Lewis Hamilton was a great little scrap. Danny Rick fourth and Lewis fifth. So Perez comes into the pits. They try to check his damage, see if they can get him back out. Too much damage to the floor. He has to retire. And yeah, that's the painful scenes, right, Alex? You
Yeah,
saw him in the
you like
car.
you just see him in the car. It looks like he's like fighting back tears.
Yeah. Um, you know, uh, I want to say not all of these guys have like home Grand Prix. I'm almost positive that not all of them
Charles,
do.
I'm going on the grid. Max has one. Checo has one. Ferrari, Charles has one. Carlos has one. Lewis, obviously. George, obviously.
Lewis and George have one,
Lando,
and Oscar have one.
Oscar, Danny Rick, Yuki has one. I think most of them. Wait, hold on.
Jo-
Um,
I don't know.
no,
Joe
they don't
Guan
have
Yu is gonna
China,
have
right?
one next year.
Next year, right? Not okay. So Joe on you. Yuki, Joe on you. Botas?
Fernando,
They don't
Fernando's
have one. He's Spain.
Yeah. So yeah, he's good. But yeah,
Botas Botas doesn't have one.
Botas doesn't have one. Joe Guanyu doesn't have
Nico,
one.
where's Nico?
I don't know. Nico.
I
K
don't know
Mag.
where Nico. K Mag, the Haas guys might not have one.
What
Logan
about
Sargent has Miami. He's like 20 minutes on the road or something like that.
yeah. What and then oh my
Um,
gosh, I just had another one. But I'm
Albon.
just saying,
Albon
Albon,
doesn't
yes,
have
thank
one.
you. Thank you. That was my guy. But I'm just saying, so not everyone has a home Grand
Hmm.
Prix. So the feeling that you must
Oh,
have
the
when you're at the home
pressure.
Grand Prix, and he's not sharing a home Grand Prix either. Like
That's his.
like Russell and Lando
Lando
joined the
and
sport.
Lewis. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
you go to the the Silverstone that it has the Sir Lewis Hamilton straight on it, and he's still racing. Like
Lewis
you're
arguably has two now.
what, two straight?
He's no two Grand Prix.
Oh yeah,
Like Brazil, they love him there.
I do think he's an honorary citizen, so it's technically
Yeah,
um. But yeah, so I'm just saying the pressure of having a home race and not having to share it, and Mexico City just seems to really love Sergio every time he goes. It is
it's
a little bit.
and he's
It's almost
also
like
like look at this.
yeah. Go
Sorry,
ahead.
go. My
No,
bad.
no, go ahead.
No, go. No, after you.
It
Sorry.
it reminds me of Max at Zandvoort with the orange flares and like
Yeah,
that's what it reminds me of.
especially like the arena itself. The track itself is super unique with the arena, like driving
Mm-hmm.
to the stadium part, and then so like that's a great view for the fans. And then on top of all that, he's also under extreme amount of pressure, not only just being his own Grand Prix, but being that second Red Bull seat and not knowing he's going to be there next season still. Or
Yeah,
he'll be there next season, but there's always rumors of it, like finding a way to kick him out because Red Bull's known to do this. They say one thing and go into the opposite, especially in that driver two seat. So the guy's just stressed out to the max, and then like something like that happens in his Grand Prix where he has a chance to take the lead and is out of the race
yeah.
instantly.
So yeah, that was the first lap incident. I want to say up the top 10, no doubts, all started on medium tires for the race. Only a couple people started on hards. I believe Albon was one of them. Norris starts in 17th on softs, hoping to gain a few positions. Fernando Alonso, clearly in that first run, I was shocked with how far he was going back. When I saw Lance Stroll passing him from the pits, I don't want. That's like a sign something was wrong with the car.
No, with the car, yeah.
Yeah. That's not Fernando. That's not his style, and they end up retiring Fernando in the end. So, but they run around with Leclerc's wing kind of half falling off. Eventually, it falls off. They throw a virtual safety car for the debris and to pick it up. There wasn't a lot of movement on. You hear Carter?
Yeah, her.
Poor Brooke. I don't know what she's dealing with up there, but
I was
he
gonna
seems
say
like
he sounded like he was running.
he sounds like he had like a monster before right before he got home. Um, yeah, I not a lot of movement because of when that virtual safety car was. I want to say maybe Norris pitted for hards at that point, but there wasn't a lot of pit movement up front there.
No,
Um,
not at all.
yeah, so we'll just start kind of going through this order here, and we'll talk about how the cautions affected these guys. Lewis Hamilton second after that virtual safety car. He passes Daniel Ricciardo. He runs up on Carlos Sainz. At that point, let's. Oh man, I don't know. Let's talk about Max. Let's start with Max. He had by far the most dominant car. Like
Oh, well,
it
it
was
wasn't even close.
it was
It was.
disgusting.
I think yeah. Once he passed, was it Signs? Because I remember Lewis goes into the pits right before Max takes the lead, and then so he never passed Lewis on track. I don't think does he?
No, nope.
No, yeah. So once he passes Signs, I think there's like an 8 second gap to Charles, and it was just like lap after lap after lap. It was like 2 seconds he was clearing it. It was insane.
Yeah. So Max is at the front runner to pit. Um, he works his way past. He gets a nice little area where he passes. I think like George Russell, Danny Rick. But he's coming. And as Alex said, Hamilton pits as well a few laps after Red Bull. I think they were trying to copy that strategy, not mess it up like they did last week at Austin. But Max was essentially going to run down the leaders and pass them before Ferrari did their one-stop strategy, which they were just boldly saying on the radio that they were doing. They weren't hiding that they were attempting a one-stop.
Like what sucks is like in so many because obviously everybody gets to hear these radio messages. like every team gets to hear them. So like with so many teams, you're like questioning if that's their actual thing or they're just trying to throw like a feint here or there. With Ferrari, it's just like, yeah, they're doing this.
Yeah,
This is there is no plan B. This is
yeah.
it.
They don't have enough. They don't have enough intelligence to start throwing fakes around there. I feel like. Um, so Max was going to catch them and then have a whole pit stop basically ahead of them. Max was looking like the clear winner. It was looking like it would be dicey for Mercedes. Um, they run the Ferraris like 7 laps after Lewis pits. They pit Carlos, so Carlos comes out 7 seconds behind Lewis. Charles pits. He comes out about 2 seconds in front, but there was a 7 to 8 lap tire offset between them. So, I mean, at that point, the race, Kevin Magnussen crashes into the wall, not on his
that
own.
Was scary.
Yeah, not on his own accord. It looks like the suspension left rear broke, sent him into the wall. Red flag comes out, which make I always say I think is the most broken system in racing. Formula One red flag that you can.
I can't stand it. I don't think you should be allowed to make changes to your car.
Yep,
And
I
then
agree.
like I think and not even just that. I don't think you should be allowed to be debriefing with your team outside the car.
Yeah, well,
I think that's another strange thing because like in races, when you're racing, the only time you're really getting a debrief is on a long straight because
yep.
like obviously you're so focused on making the turns, and that's when the only time you have time to think is during a long straight. And when you're like able to sit down and just like have a full blown coffee and conversation with your engineer and stuff, it just you pretty much, dude, these things take forever. These red flags take like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and like this has nothing to do with like how they handle it because like the wall was damaged and stuff, and yeah, they handled the fire pretty quickly, and that was a really brutal crash. I think that was really understated. Like I remember Max, when he saw the red flag, he was like, "Why are we red flagging?" Blah blah blah. So he didn't know the damage to the wall, to be fair, and Max is also worried about losing the lead. Like, K-Mag gets out, and he just looks stunned. Like I thought he was concussed. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the red flag system. I don't think you should be allowed to make changes to your car whatsoever. I think you got to keep it the way it is.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Leclerc's changing a whole front wing and not losing any time from it because of the red flag. You know what I mean? Like,
I think yeah, it sucks.
Yeah. So we come out Max 1, Charles 2, Lewis 3, Carlos 4. Max is on the hard tire. Charles is on the hard, Carlos is on the hard, and Lewis is on the medium tire in third. I think Mercedes, they wanted to at least get Charles and then see if they could build a gap in case they had to pit again.
Yeah, it was Matt. George was behind Carlos. Okay.
I thought it was insane that they thought that medium tire was going to last that long. What did you think after that red flag? Did you think that medium tire?
I thought it was insane. I thought McLaren and Mercedes were batshit crazy for going for that strat.
Yeah.
So there was 30. Like, there had to be like 30 laps left. No.
There was more than that. There was probably closer to
35 or something like that.
Yeah.
I think it was like 30. I think lap 34 is when the incident happened. So yeah, I think it's all right.
Because I remember Lewis asking if there was 20 laps to go, and they had to tell him no, there's 30 laps to go, 3-0.
Yeah, it's not even just that. Something that they like. I don't know, for those of you who didn't watch the race, they mentioned during commentaries. This is last year's soft tire. That is the medium.
Yeah.
So this DAG is insane too, and like I was like I don't know how they made it work, but they did.
Yeah, especially after the last stint and how they were talking about saving in that stint, it seemed crazy that they were going to go so long on this tire stint.
Now that we get to this part, though, I do want to mention that Red Bull in the pre-practice saved a fresh pair of parts for Max during the race. So this entire strategy was like plan A from the very beginning, which is mind-blowing to me.
When you are as dominant as Red Bull is, they can save tires. They don't need to use so many tires during practice in qualifying, which give them more tires during the race because all the tires are allocated through the weekend. That's a great point, Alex. So when you have a dominant team, and this is just stuff Red Bull or Mercedes has done in the past and whoever, but there's something about like, hey, we got a feeling on our car. We don't need to burn up this set of new tires. We'll keep these old tires on and gather whatever data we can. It puts you in a better position. That's why if you like Formula One is not a one-day thing. There is qualifying on Saturday. There is practice. You might not like that, but their strategy from when the moment the first practice starts to the end of the race. Yeah, that's a very good point, Alex. Way to bring that up.
And then sorry, I also bring this up. It's crazy to see the fall from grace from Aston Martin because during that red flag, they both were starting at the back of the grid.
Yeah,
And I was like, dude, like what a night and day it was from the beginning of the season where they're fighting, like you said, in Monaco had a chance to win, to back of the grid behind the Alpha Tauris and the Williams and the Alphas and everything, and they didn't even stand a chance.
yeah. They've already admitted that they have nothing to fight for apparently for the rest of the season. So,
Get
um,
some data, do something. You should not be looking this bad.
yeah, I agree. It's rough. But the green flag comes out. Hamilton does not get either one going into turn one, which was kind of a shocker. But a couple laps later, Lewis makes a critical pass on Charles. It was a good, clean pass, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm riding on board with Lewis. Very concerned about the tire wear right away, asking a lot of questions, making sure they kept that good. And Lewis was able to build the gap about 7 seconds through the rest of the race. Obviously, Max gains like a 14-second advantage on him. Lewis goes for the fastest lap at the end of the race and gets it. So a good little run there from Lewis. How about the Ferraris? They thought they were good in third and fourth with hard tires, and Lewis on mediums. They were trying to tell Charles that they believed the tires were going to fall off in about 5 laps or so at a certain point,
Yeah.
and
Um,
they never happened.
it was also how Lewis overtook. Like it was a clean overtake, but he was like right on the edge. You could see the dirt kicking up behind him, like he was right on the grass. So the
Yeah,
fact that he made those tires last as long as he did, especially with like showing how George started to slow down towards the end of the race, was insane. And like you said, Lewis pulls the fastest lap at the end of the race in the last lap, and had a little more pace than he thought, I guess. And Lewis just made those tires work.
yeah.
Crazy.
Not a bad day for Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes there. Ferrari, their team principal, Fred admitted after the race that they just could not get those hard tires fired up right. Leclerc just stayed in third. Carlos in fourth with a lot of pressure from George on mediums in fifth. Um, George was trying to pass for that fourth. This was the perfect example of how this track was, and everyone was complaining about tire temps and brake temperatures and engine temperatures. George could not get the pass done on Carlos for many laps. Had to follow him closely, and that affected him greatly towards the end. Uh, you kind of needed to be in clean air or and you needed to massage those tires. And when George ran too many laps behind Carlos, those tires went to crap, and he ended up falling to sixth in the race. I didn't really see any
Almost seventh.
almost seventh with
Yeah,
Daniel Ricciardo.
Danny Rick was catching him, and had they been a few more laps, he probably would have.
Oh, absolutely, 1,000%. I didn't see any overtaking possibilities for George. What about you?
There was a few times I think he dipped his nose in on Carlos, but he really didn't have it. I also think he was battling. I feel like he also like was concerned about the Ferraris getting that tire and just overtaking him eventually, so he was just wasting his time trying to overtake it. But yeah, he was struggling the entire race, the second stint of the race, and
Yeah,
then yeah, like I said, had it not been for the race ending, he probably would have gotten seventh because
yeah,
Danny
absolutely.
Rick was right on him.
Yeah, Alex isn't wrong. If you watch like Daniel Ricciardo through the stadium section, there's no more passing at that point. But Daniel Rick was
Yeah,
crawling over him. Lando Norris comes from 17th to 5th. Me and Alex had a little discussion here before the show started. I love when me and Alex disagree. And if you guys have any thoughts, go ahead. Maybe you have a little bit more data than we do. Um, I said the red flag helped Lando Norris. Alex said the red flag hurt Lando Norris. There's no denying Lando comes out of the red flag on mediums, and Alex is right that he lost, what, 4 positions maybe?
I think it was five. I think he fell from fifth. I think he fell from 11. No, yeah, I think it was like 11th to 16th. So four or
So he
five.
lost 4 or 5 positions there and then was able to work his way up. So Alex says it hurts him. I don't know how far he was from George Russell because I'm gonna say that's his last overtake, right? That's what I'm using as a reference point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Sorry,
don't. Yeah.
audio
I
must
don't
cut
know
out.
how far he was behind George Russell when the red flag came out. So even though he dropped back 5 positions, he still might have been X amount of seconds behind George Russell, and that gap might have been shorter. I don't know if it hurt him or helped him. I know it hurt Daniel Ricciardo in seventh. So that's
Mm.
my brain is thinking that it helped Lando.
Well, like I remember my line of thinking was I didn't think those mediums were gonna last.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, Lando has to do some serious overtaking, get in the pits and throw on whatever good best softs he has available, and hopefully try to finish in the top five because I didn't think he was getting to the podium. Um, not from how far back he was, but those tires definitely did hold up pretty well. And I there was a few laps where I felt he like should have overtaken some cars a little bit earlier, and he didn't. But then towards the end of the race, he just made it work, and that's what I wanted to talk about towards the end of the race. When you hear Lando and George, you hear Lando's car radio. I'm sorry, his engineer tell him, "Hey, like we know how George is. He's all or nothing,"
Yeah.
and that's really George's driving style. At least this year, I think it's something he's adapted this year because he's starting to get in panic mode. But yeah. So yeah, Lando definitely impressed me. I don't know who won driver of the day. I think I would have given it to him,
It was
but
Lando. He won back-to-back
it was
weekends.
Lando.
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, he had a crazy good second stint on those after the red flag, and I really when I saw him like fall back 5 positions, I'm like damn, he really has to like overtake fast. And when I saw him like he was taking a little bit longer than he should have to overtake some of these cars, I was like, okay, he'll finish in the points, but he's probably gonna finish like right in front of this Piastri or right behind Piastri. That's what I thought he was gonna do. That's why I said it
Yeah.
was gonna hurt him because I was just worried about those tires not holding up.
Yeah. Um, I mean, he had great overtakes. I don't want to say I know he overtook people a lot, but I don't think he had followed anyone a lot. He got to his cars and he passed them. And there's a difference between passing a car, getting one or two
Yeah,
laps maybe of clean air or a little bit of a gap, and then passing the next car. Where George just beat up his car trying to pass Carlos. But
and it was crazy though because like even before the red flag started, I remember I want to say it was George. He pitted and he was arguing with his engineers like, "Why did we pit there? That was a horrible decision." Blah blah blah. And he's like, "Yeah, we're trying to cut off Lando.
yeah,
Like, we're not even worried about the guys in front of you. Lando's coming up, and like, had that red flag not happened, Lando might have finished like in front of Carlos, arguably.
yeah,
Maybe I don't think he would have had a podium speed, but he would have been close.
yeah. Well, it's all up in the air now for us because that
Yeah,
red flag happened. But Lando fifth is amazing. George, he got beat up trying to pass Carlos. He ends up in sixth with Danny Rick all in his tail in seventh. Man, Danny Rick had a great first stint. He got passed by a couple cars, um, but then he held. I want to say that he was in. I want to say he was in sixth or seventh. He was
yeah, I
just
think he was in
hanging on
six.
to Russell though. The
Mm-hmm.
beginning stint was Oscar and then Russell, and he was just hanging on. I think he believes that he could have finished top five, um, top
That
five or
that
six,
yeah
if that red flag didn't happen.
maybe, but sorry, yeah, the Alpha Tauri had some speed to it this weekend. I don't know what they did with the car, but it seemed to be working. And obviously, like Yuki ends up making a drastic mistake, and that's what I'm assuming we're going to lead into pretty soon. But
Mm.
yeah, it was. They must have injected some steroids in the car or something because that thing looks fast this weekend.
Yeah, it was very fast. Oscar Piastri finishes in eighth place again. What Alex is saying is not wrong because Oscar did not look like he had the speed for Danny Rick at all, and he was in a battle with Yuki Tsunoda for 2 laps. The first lap they make a little bit of contact, nothing happens. I believe the next lap or the lap after, Yuki goes for a move. I think he
Yeah,
turned in way too early and just came across
way
Oscar,
too
right?
early.
Yeah,
Yeah, way too fast.
yeah,
I love hearing the team radio difference after that crash.
yeah. Like Yuki, like complaining.
It was like no, it was just like instantly. It was like two. It was like literally night and day. This is Yuki's fault, 100%. I don't know
Yeah,
if Yuki knew that at the time, but this is 100% Yuki's fault. He turns in on Oscar like way too fast. He's over aggressive on his move. He wants to, but he's desperate. He wants his alphas to score points, finish both in the points, and then he ends up getting turned around by Oscar, and he's just like fuck, and he's all you see is like him cussing and stuff, and you
yeah,
see Oscar, he's like, they go to Oscar's teammate, he goes, he just turned in on me, mate.
yeah.
He's just chilling.
Well, that goes to your point that the Australians stay calm, right? Isn't that what you always say?
Dude, it's insane. I don't know how they do it.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not wrong. Yuki ends up really sabotaging what would have been a great day for AlphaTauri in points. As we're obviously going to go over the points later, but Yuki still ended up getting 12th after spinning out and making contact with another car, which is pretty impressive. Alex is not wrong. That AlphaTauri did have a lot of speed there this weekend. Piastri just hangs on to 8th. Albon with the 9th place finish, again coming from 14th place on the grid. That's a solid run for him. Esteban Ocon finishes 10th. He had about a, what would you say, 10, 15 lap battle with Nico Hulkenberg, just stuck behind him for a while.
Yeah.
Um,
I
Esteban
felt so
Ocon says
bad for
on,
Nico, man. I felt
yeah,
so bad for him.
he just doesn't have the car.
No, I know.
Esteban says on the radio though, which I think this is one of my most favorite things of all time. Um, he said, "What did he just say? Tell Nico that tell Haas I'm going to be coming or I'm going to be making a move. Tell Nico I'm going to be making a move." Um, they're listening. Like when those
Yeah.
cars get near you. So for him to just come out and say it, I absolutely loved it. I thought it was a grade A move. I don't know what you thought, but
I thought it was funny.
yeah, it's entertaining. But Esteban
Yeah.
brings home 10th, gets a point for his team. Again, he started further down the order. He finishes ahead of Pierre Gasly in 11th. Yuki, like I said, who crashed out but had a very strong car, good opportunity for points, finishes 12th. Nico, he did better. Usually that Haas falls apart faster, right?
Yeah.
It was fast in the straight line.
It just sucks like that. Like he's just great during qualifying. He does great all race and everything. He gets all the info you need, and he just cannot hang on to the points finishes. He's always
Yo,
right there.
yeah, and you're just hoping the Haas is going to be better next year, but you kind of know what it's going to be. Um, but
I
who knows?
want
Maybe
Nico to get a podium, man. He deserves one.
he's the longest run without a podium, right? Is that what it is? Most starts without a
Probably.
podium.
I don't think he's ever had one. He's never had one. Yeah,
Yeah, never.
he
Joe
definitely holds
Guanyu
that record.
Joe Guanyu 14th and Valtteri Bottas 15th. Pretty disappointing run for those Alfa Romeo, seeing as they
Yeah,
started 9th and 10th.
they had some pace too.
Yep. Logan Sargent 16th. Um, he had a solid day. He pulls in on the last lap, does not complete the race because of fuel pump issues.
Hmm.
Stroll 17th and Fernando, K Mag and Sergio all DNF. So man, it was like I said, it was interesting. It had its points, it had it didn't, it had its struggles. Lando would probably be a little bit more of a wild card if he didn't finish or if he didn't start 17th.
Hmm.
I think we're seeing a trend here. The Mercedes did not look as good as it did last week, but Mercedes is continuing to have better Sundays than Saturdays. Ferrari's Saturday
I mean,
car.
like I think I think also the Max because at the end of last race why the Mercedes looked so impressive because Lewis is catching Max, but Max didn't have the brake problems this week, so
Yeah,
maybe that could have had a thing to say.
yeah. That's 1,000% something that was going on. Was the brakes on Max's car last week, and as much as you wanted to be excited that Lewis was close and bringing him a battle, it did seem like he had issues. No issues reported this weekend, and he stomps the field by 13 seconds. So, um, you who knows what was going on? The fact that Lewis
Did you
still
see?
had tires at the
Did
end
you?
of the race, maybe he could have pushed
Yeah,
harder.
that's
But
crazy. Did you see the stat? I don't know if it was a stat, but somebody that at the end of the race when they both pull into the to the stadium for the podium parking, whatever it's called, and it was like Max won and Lewis two, the most 1-2 finishes together right behind each other in Formula One history.
yeah,
That was crazy to think about. That's insane.
Max's win breaks his previous record at 17 wins in a season, right? Um,
Yeah, that was another crazy stat, and he said he's gonna try to push for 20.
which is crazy thinking of like they showed the top four. It's they always talk about Mercedes dominance, yet I don't see Lewis Hamilton on there for wins in a season. So I just find that interesting.
I think the most he has is 11 or something like that.
Mm, yeah,
Yeah.
but they didn't put him on the list. Yeah, and I mean another great season for Max. Alex took the under on Max's race wins at 14 and a half. I took the over, so I'm winning. But let's take a look. Let's take a look at driver points here. No change in the top three. Max Verstappen 491, Sergio Perez 240, and Lewis Hamilton 220. So he's only 20 points behind. Obviously, in racing, you could play the what if game all day. What if Lewis Hamilton doesn't get disqualified last week? He's actually only 1 point behind Sergio. Man, Lewis's form just looks so good. I think he will have a solid chance at P2. Carlos Sainz ties Fernando Alonso, and because of the race win in Singapore, he moves up to P4. Fernando P5 with 183. Lando in 6 with 169. Alex, do you see him passing Fernando?
100%.
Okay. Do you see him passing Carlos?
No.
Okay. What is that? That's a 14-point difference between them. obviously, as Alex just said, passing Fernando because Fernando's not running well. Even if Lando finishes ahead of Carlos, I'm going to assume that Alex believes that Carlos would be closely
He'll finish in
behind.
the top 5, top 6. Yeah.
Yeah, to damage limitations there. Leclerc's flirting with seventh, 166. So that's between fourth and seventh is a pretty tight battle. 183 to 166. Yeah, it's just 17 points separating them. Is Leclerc's finished top 3, top 2. So the DNF at Austin hurt him as well. So, but that's a tight battle there. George Russell in 8th with 155. Oscar Piastri floating by himself in 9th with 87. Pierre 56. Lance Stroll 53. Esteban 45. I'm gonna be interested to see if Esteban could pass Lance. I don't know if I see it happening. Like this week, Esteban only gets 1 point. That just won't get the job done. Albon, yeah, close. If he chips away 2, 3 here or there. Albon 27 points in 13th. Bottas in 14th with 10 points. Nico Hulkenberg in 15th with 9 points. Yuki Tsunoda in 16th with 8 points. This is when the graphic got interesting. Just off this one race alone, Danny Rick jumps up to 17th with 6 points. He is ahead of Joe Guan Yu, who has the same amount of points because of this better finish. K-Mag in 19th with 3 points. Liam Lawson in 20th with 2 points. And I'm not reworking this whole graphic for Logan Sargent in 21st place. He is behind Alex's camera. That is the one in the arrow down. If Logan Sargent,
I was like, whoa.
Yeah, if Logan Sargent was 20th and Liam Lawson was 21st, I just wouldn't put Liam Lawson, right?
Yeah.
But the fact that
it's funny.
The fact that Sargent hasn't passed, I'm not reworking the graphics. You have no idea how long this crap takes me sometimes. So, I will let that roll us right into our constructor
Sorry,
points.
Just before you do, Lewis doesn't get that DNF like last week, and he's like 5 points behind Checo.
I think they said 1 point.
1 point? That's crazy.
Yeah. Because
did he have fastest lap last week?
No, he didn't have fastest lap, but you got to remember that Sergio also got better points because he jumped up.
Oh, okay, yeah, you're right.
Because of Lewis's and Charles. So yeah, I think that's why they said 1 point, but yeah, it would be closer. Back to the constructors. Red Bull with a quadrillion points in first. Mercedes in second with 371. Ferrari with 349. A 22-point difference. Ferrari is not out of this at all. Like a bad weekend or a DNF weekend from Mercedes would put Ferrari into second there. So Mercedes can't let off the gas there. Yep, absolutely. McLaren in fourth with 256. Solidifying their spot there ahead of Aston Martin in fifth with 236. Alpine on an island by themselves in sixth with 101. Then here's where it gets interesting. Williams in seventh with 28 points. Obviously, Danny Rick's points moves AlphaTauri from 10th up into 8th spot. So now they are only 12 points behind Alex Albon in 7th. Williams, excuse me. That is some of the comments that I saw. So AlphaTauri with the jump up to 8th is good for them, and that moves Alfa Romeo down to 9th and Haas down to last. So we had a little shake up, and we're not done for the year. Do you think AlphaTauri catches Williams? 12 points is a lot.
No, I'm joking. So we have Brazil, Vegas, Abu Dhabi, right?
Yep.
And what else am I missing? That's it?
No, that's it. Sprint
Okay.
weekend.
That's true. I don't think so. No,
Okay.
I think Albon's doing too good.
Yeah. And again, a race win is 25 points, second place is 18, third place is 15, I believe. So you say 12 points, that's not that much. But an AlphaTauri is probably not going to finish first, second, or third. They're going to get kind of the lower points, the 3, the 2, the 1, and that's without Williams scoring points. So I'm kind of with Alex here. I think 12 points might be a little bit too much, but if it happens, that'd be awesome for Danny Rick. All right.
Danny Rick.
AlphaTauri's 10th in points. He comes back and does his thing, and then now they're in 8th. But again, they could have like 18 or 19 points. You know what I mean? If Yuki doesn't crash out. All right. I got the pick results on the screen. We always wait half a second for Alex to view this here. Um, we'll wait for him to say that it's up on his screen. But we're getting close. We have 3 races left. The points,
Jesus. Okay.
yeah, the
I
points
gotta
battle
play to win now.
got tight this weekend. As your top 5 results were Max, Lewis, Charles, Carlos, and Lando. Alex guessed Lewis, Lando, Charles, Sergio, and Max. And as obvious, sometimes I make mistakes, so I'm hoping Alex is double checking this. But Alex gets a point for having Lewis correct in the top 5 and Lando correct in the top 5. He gets 3 points for putting Charles in the right spot and another point for putting Max in the top 5. So 3 for Charles and then 3 for the other 3 drivers gives him 6. Right, Matt? Right, Alex?
Yep. Yeah, you're
All
good.
right.
And the math was right for both. I checked both. So.
Oh, man. All right. And then myself, I picked Max in first, which gave me 5 points. Sergio Perez did not finish in either one of our top 5s. Lewis in third gave me a single point. And then I don't know how, I didn't think I got both of these right, but Carlos and Lando in the right spot was huge to give me 12 points. And as you can see, with 3 races left, we are at 118, 113. Yeah. So are you back to picking Max Verstappen first now?
Yeah. I'm gonna start trying. I wanted to tighten it up.
You know what, guys? That's just what Alex does for the show. He cares so much that he let me climb back in a little bit here, which I really appreciate. So, man, any final comments on what was the Mexican Grand Prix?
Nothing I can think of.
All right. Well, hey, we're an hour in, and now we're gonna. Oh, John saw the script. Ryan, don't tell him. Jeez Louise. That's so funny because that I don't think that gets talked about in F1. It's like an NFL thing. But yeah, we could probably go back to a few times where it looked like the FIA did all they could to fulfill the script. Ryan, that's why. Ryan, that's why you're a part of this show. We love you. All right. So we have the Brazilian Grand Prix. Oh, hold up. Sorry. We had I don't want to say we had news. We had news form this weekend. Oh no. All right, give me half a second. We're having technical difficulties over here on my end. All right, sorry about that, guys. Okay, news. Did you see the rumors that Fernando Alonso might be next in the Red Bull seat for next year?
Not at all, and that just seems like a crazy theory.
So there was some report, and then someone couldn't say anything, and then like Will Buxton and another journalist were commenting on it. One of Red Bull's like Spanish pages, they did the shush emoji, but these rumors all started firing up that Alonso might be in next to Max next year. Again, we said there was rumors coming into the Mexican Grand Prix, and none of them were true. I think Alex would be very excited if Alonso is next to Max. Yay or nay?
I'd be excited. It's just not going to happen. You're going to have Fernando betting heads with Max, and they drive very similarly. So, like, if they do that, Red Bull's banking on the idea that Fernando's going to buy into the number 2 driver, and that's just not going to happen, and they're going to kill each other.
But that would be so good for us as a show who talks about Formula One. So
that is true, and it'd also be good for every other constructor, which Red Bull is considering.
Yes, so that was a little bit of news. I think I might have one more news thing, but unfortunately, I had to close that page out because of some technical difficulty here. But as we talk about Brazil here, I will quiz Alex as I always do. They've been at Sao Paulo here at this track since 1990, but the race has been in Brazil before this. Most wins for a driver, Alex.
Lewis.
Incorrect.
Fiddlesticks. Is it Senna?
Incorrect.
There's no way it's Max, is it?
Incorrect. He only has
show me.
Incorrect.
What the?
Yes. See, they're not. It's always one of those people that you just listed, and it's not. Then that's why I knew
Prost?
this is gonna be good. It is Prost. Yes, with 6. Yes. Do you want to guess the constructor now?
Ferrari?
Nope.
Is it Mercedes? McLaren.
Yes. How many?
9,
Higher.
10, 11,
A little bit higher.
12.
12. Yes. So most wins is
Wait,
Prost here. He had a
6,
couple with
7 must have a few.
yeah, he had a couple with McLaren, and I think he had maybe one or two with Williams. Um, and then most wins constructor is McLaren with 12. So um, we are back to the sprint format this weekend. So Friday we'll have one round of practice again, only one round with qualifying for Sunday's race on Friday. Saturday will be the sprint shootout, and then the sprint race on Saturday. Man, Alex, what do we think of Brazil? We're both 10 on 10 on Brazil, right? We love Brazil.
I love Brazil.
Yeah.
It's
Um,
always exciting.
yeah, when they first did sprint racing, I was a little iffy on some of the tracks they did it on. The
I
fact
think
that
Brazil's the only one that works.
Brazil is perfect for this. Brazil always has the
Yeah.
greatest overtakes. Brazil used to be the final race of the season for a while, so there's great history there with championship battles, and it's phenomenal. So, yeah, we're huge fans of Brazil. Lewis is an honorary citizen there. He calls it home. That's what Alex was referring to earlier. You want to see what the gamblers have to say about this?
Sure.
Took out Alex Albon. The past 2 years after that, 20, Lewis came from like a rocket ship from the back, and then 21.
Wow.
No, 20,
Wow.
21. Lewis came like
Plus
a rocket ship. 22. Russell got
900
his
from
only win.
Lewis's.
Why don't you take it? Why don't you take everyone through it, Alex?
We got Max, obviously the favorite. Lewis is plus 900. Lando plus 11. Sergio plus 1600. George plus 2. That's a crazy gap between Lewis and George, but I mean,
And George won there last year.
I know that's another thing to consider. He's definitely struggling with this car, but Charles and Carlos, of course, not getting any respect. Oscar, had a rough race last race, so obviously that gap between him and Lando's growing. Fernando plus 10,000. Valtteri, Pierre, Lance, and Esteban, Ricardo, and Albon plus 40,000. Then Nico, K Mag, Guan Yu Zhou, and Logan. I'm sorry, those are 70,000, and Logan Sargent's plus 80.
Logan
I'm
Sargent
throwing all my
always.
money in Logan.
I mean, if you did, it'd be insane. I think this is the best odds for Lewis all year. I don't have that like
Insane.
as a
I
fact,
definitely
but
think it
or
is.
you think that's the best
I
odds
think it
he's had,
is. I
right?
think I think the
Yeah,
closest he had was like plus 1100 or plus 12.
yeah.
I think he's the best he's had all season.
But him being plus 900 and George being plus 2,000, and then Ferrari being plus 25 and plus 28, really just showing me that the sports books are shipping it in that Mercedes is just faster right now than the Ferraris. Obviously, you got a big gap between Lando and Oscar, so those people, whoever's doing the odds, are really seeing that. Lando's pulled it out the last couple weeks. And besides that, I don't think anything else is a real shocker, right? That's all pretty straightforward stuff there.
Yeah.
All right. I have to do something though, Alex. I kind of messed up. I have to backtrack because wait, did we have anyone submit their top 5 last week?
Oh, I think Ryan did.
Okay. Well, if Ryan did, we're gonna go over that right now. All right.
I want to say a few. I think we had two or three.
Yeah, we only have one. Ryan is the only one who comments on our stuff. Appreciate you, Ryan. Okay, so Ryan picked for last week. Ryan picked Max, Lando, Sergio, Hamilton. Will cheat again, but not get caught, is what he said, and Oscar. So Ryan gets 5 points for having Max right, a point for Lando, and then a point for Hamilton. So 5, 6, 7. So he would have outscored you. He would outscored you by 1 point. So let the trash talk live if there is any. And that's actually kind of perfect to bring us into what's going to be our pick predictions for this week. Mick, if you're in the chat, let's hear your picks for this week. Ryan, Mick, if you got any new shirts, let me know, bro. I'm representing an old shirt here. I'll definitely buy a new one. I'm always showing love to Mick on the show. All right. Who do you know who's first this week? I'm the worst at remembering who's first.
I forgot to. I'm not gonna lie to you. How about
Um,
you rock paper scissors?
I have the video up though, so I can pull it up.
All right.
Who makes the first pick here? As I
I think it
scrub
might be
Scully,
you.
I picked Max first, so you are up first this week. So
Okay,
who
so I'm
is
gonna go
your number
Max.
one driver? You're
I
going
gotta go
Max.
Max. Yeah.
All right.
This
Let me
one,
do
I'm
this
good at it.
here. Streamlabs are
Get my
acting a
one.
little silly today. All right, so Alex is going Max first. Um, now,
You playing
listen.
for the win or you playing for the gut? You're
What do you
playing
mean?
with the gut. I
I'm
can
playing
hear
for
it.
the win. You already know that. So, um, Max, but Alex is forgetting that Max only has one win here. One win.
He
That's it.
does.
This does
He
not seem
does.
like a strong track.
I really hope I'm wrong. I
Yep.
really do because I want him to have this, but
It,
I, I, I just
if
don't
Lu,
think they have the pace.
if
Max
Lewis
is
wins
literally
in
just toying
Brazil,
with the car.
if Lewis wins in Brazil, Brazil will explode. I'm counting. This is it right now. Lewis's win is coming at his favorite place, where I don't see it coming in Vegas. I think that it's not coming in Vegas,
Nope,
and I don't think it's
it's not
happening in
coming in
Abu
Abu
Dhabi.
Dhabi. No,
This is
it's
where.
here if it's anywhere.
Yep.
I
Give me
100% agree with you. I can't disagree with you with that statement, but I just yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna go Lewis too.
okay. All right. So now Alex is gonna score 8 points right there. Okay. Cool.
Don't
All
worry,
right.
you'll
I
have to.
I promise you we won't be a boring show after this, but I am gonna reverse his order and I'm gonna put Max in second.
See, this is where it gets interesting because I don't know realistically where to go from here. I want.
I
I
do.
think I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go Lando 3.
Oh, you mother effer. That's where I was going. Because I think they've been pretty good on these tracks. I think they've struggled on the high speed tracks, and that's not really what Brazil is known for. Um,
Mm-hmm.
oh gosh, this is what happens, guys. The race gets tight, and we start just mirroring each other's picks because we know we want to win. Winning is everything. I have to go Lando 3 as well. So you're up for 4.
I'm gonna go Logan Sargent 4. No, I'm joking.
No, you said it. It's locked in.
I'm gonna go P4. It's tough. Oh, dude, I don't know whether to throw both Ferraris here, throw Checo here. I'll go Checo. I think he's gonna have a little bit of a rebound race. I'll go Checo.
All right, Alex is going for the Checo rebound race. Mm.
See, like this is tough now. I don't know. Like the
So
Mercedes can finish
I want to
there,
put
the
George there.
Ferraris.
I want to put
He
George
had a
there.
really good race. He had a really good race last year.
He did, but
It just
he's
depends on
just
the car.
he's looked like he's
He's
struggled the last
struggling.
couple of
He's
weeks.
struggling, but he's doing good in the qualifying. It's just the race pace he's struggling with. I
I'm
don't
going
know.
George. I'm going George. I have a bold prediction here. I'm going George 4. So you're up for 5.
This is tough, dude. Because I want to throw Ferraris there. I want to throw George there.
Ryan, Dad, if you're watching, throw your top 5 in so we can check it out next week.
Does George fend off the Ferraris? Is my question. Because I think he's gonna be ahead of him. I'll go George. I gotta go George.
All right, so he's throwing George.
I feel like this is gonna be the make or break right here. The 4-5 is gonna be the major break.
Are there has what I want to know on some
I
of
don't
these
think the Ferraris don't look impressive. I remember that on these tracks the last few years.
you know, if I was to do more research, which I probably should have, to look up which tracks that Piastri has driven in F2.
Oh, and F2, yeah.
Because I think that probably makes a difference. You know, I don't know if there's a support series here this weekend, but I think that cars looked fast at places like Qatar. I just always go back to Silverstone. I'm going Oscar P5. So Alex is going Max, Lewis, Lando, Sergio, and George. Is that true? I'm going Lewis, Max, Lando, George, and Oscar. So I have two. I have two McLarens, two Mercedes, and a Red Bull. My father said that you picked the exact odds, and I'm gonna pull that up on my screen
Did
that you
I?
can't see. Max minus 400, Lewis plus 900, Lando plus 11, Sergio plus 16, George plus 2,000.
That's
What?
hilarious.
What? First of all, shout out to my dad for like paying attention to that. Um, that's crazy, dude. What if that's true? Too bad you
It's
can't.
Vegas odds. You can't like not say it's not true. They control everything.
What?
That's
Th-
I didn't.
That's,
You
is
know what's
that your?
funny? I was looking at the odds, and I was like, I'm definitely gonna go Max 1 and Lewis 2. So that was a given. After that, I didn't pay attention too much. That's
Um,
funny.
I think Ryan had a typo. He wrote Max, Lando, George, Carlos, and Oscar. He didn't put Lewis in his top five, so maybe he messed.
Okay.
He might have had a typo there. I don't understand.
Oh
Um,
no.
Ryan
That's
said
it.
Alex also has the script. He also has. He also what? So I don't know if Dad's rolling with you. He's just calling you out for picking the exact odds. He might be on such a delay. I don't know. Plus he has an
It's
Android
definitely
too.
delay because I don't even see I don't even see it in the chat yet.
Yeah, I don't know why they're not popping up. Like his first
I
chat
saw
came.
your dad's. I saw your dad's. I didn't see Ryan's.
Yeah, guys, let me tell you something. I am not too technical savvy, but I don't like it's popping up on my thing on the right here, but it's not popping up. Oh, now it comes. They all just came at once. All right, cool. All right, well, yeah. Brazil this weekend, sprint again.
There he goes.
Me and Alex have been struggling. We've been live for an hour 15 here. Like I said, triple header. We've been having to preview races and recap. Next week, Brazil. We will just review Brazil, and then the following week we should just be previewing Las Vegas. So it should calm down a little bit here. So
Ryan, I don't think you realize how crazy it is you don't have Lewis in there. You better hope he DNFs.
Max Lewis 5 instead of Oscar. No. You threw Oscar 5. I had to talk your crap. Lewis 5. Oh my gosh. I mean, Lewis could. He almost DNF'd last year. Turn 1 was a little bit sketchy.
That is true.
He will cheat his way into the top 5.
Dude.
Yeah, well, listen. If Lewis wins this week, I'll have a cow. I'll be so excited. Alex, what else is going on? Anything? How's everything?
Yeah, I'm doing horrible in all my fantasy leagues except for the one you and I are in.
Okay.
You're doing pretty good. Yeah, you're getting pretty fortunate with the teams you've been playing against, but you're doing pretty good.
I have the second least amount of fantasy points scored and the least amount of fantasy points scored against me. I am the definition of luck. I'm not gonna sit and act here like I'm doing good. This weekend I did good, but I'm not gonna sit here and act like I'm getting pretty lucky here.
I spanked the commissioner pretty good.
Oh, did you? Oh boy.
I think so. If I remember, I'm pretty sure I was playing him. But
Yeah.
what else is there? The Panthers got their first dub. Finally under that Bryce Young getting his first dub of the season. We made the better choice. CJ Stroud got outplayed.
Oh, over the Texans too, which I wouldn't expect. The Texans I thought have been playing pretty good.
No, I don't know how the hell we won that game. It was just we were home. That's the only thing I can say. We were home. Like we did not deserve that win. Bryce Young pretty. He played decent, but
listen,
yeah,
you deserve to win. You deserve to win. I was so hyped for you when I saw that.
Dude, I was watching the worst game of the week, the Giants Jets game, and everybody's like, it's like during their comeback when I finally saw the final score of the Panthers game, and I just started screaming at the top of my lungs in the middle of the bar, and I'm like, let's fucking go! Carolina got their first dub.
Yeah, the Giants and Jets. Giants had -9 passing yards on the day. And I don't know if the Jets have scored more than like 15 points all season. They have the most boring games ever. So
yeah, it was pretty boring.
They should have turned on the Panthers game for you.
Ryan 15, it wasn't much better.
Ryan just asked me if the Syracuse quarterback was on the Steelers, would they have scored more points this season? No, it's all Matt Canada's fault. It doesn't have to do with the players.
Canada is pretty bad.
Yeah, Canada's really bad. Yeah, man. Halloween is tomorrow. I just last weekend. He's Cookie Monster. He's cute as can be.
Nice.
Michael Mayer will have tonight. Alex, is there
What
a
was the
word?
question? I
No, I don't.
you got
Oh,
white on white on the text thing. It's throwing me off.
yeah, because you can't. Again, like I tried to do that for the comments when they're on our other
The
screen.
black screen. Gotcha.
Yeah, and it wouldn't let me do. I mean, I'm sure there's a way. I just haven't learned how to do black yet
Oh, there
for
you go.
that. He said Michael Mayer will have 32 tonight, Alex. So would that give you a loss?
32, maybe. I don't know how much I'm beating him by. I know I have like 126 or something, and he has like 8. I gotta look at what he has.
I bet you it's. I bet you he's 31 points behind. I'm gonna just
Probably,
assume.
probably. It's exactly that.
Oh man. Hey, you know what I saw real quick? I saw. I always watch, and I highly recommend. F1 does a weekend warm up and a post race show,
Mhm.
and they're pretty good. I learn a little bit, and they have a fantasy thing. You can sign up online for their fantasy thing.
Mhm.
But they do like I think they do like passing points and stuff. Um, so
That'd be a lot to keep track of for us too.
yeah, no, we would have to just like sign up for theirs and then like report it. But it made it like so
Yeah.
like one of them who picked Lando, like the fact that Lando started 17th, they probably got like
Big
whatever,
points.
yeah, 12 passing points and a fifth place finish, which is pretty good. So
That's pretty cool.
yeah, um, yeah. But our guest pickers is gonna be fun next year. So they'll have
For sure. I'm looking forward to that.
they'll
Definitely.
have nothing out on
Yeah.
us next year for sure.
We definitely gotta. We definitely gotta brainstorm some people to get in there.
We sure do. We sure do. All right, that's about all that I got tonight. I gotta go tuck in Carter because he's about to be
Yeah.
going
I
to
gotta.
bed.
I got
Um,
stuff to do as well.
all right. Well, I will talk to you next weekend at this exact time, and we'll be recapping Brazil and getting ready for. That's it. Just a normal
Yes,
show.
sir.
All right.
Alrighty.